I guess what we know from what people say about the programme and the direct feedback that we've received is that the programme gives participants, both men and women, confidence in their own abilities. So they say it has boosted their self-confidence to do things like apply for further and future leadership opportunities in their own institutions. I think self-confidence is really important as a leader or in a leadership role, even if you're not necessarily feeling massively self-confident in that role, because it's about your followers and followership as a leader, and those relationships and the relationships you have with your team and with others, you know, that you interact with, enabling them to have trust in you as a leader and appearing self-confident, optimistic, encouraging and motivating others is really a key leadership attribute. So I think, you know, getting that sense that you are feeling self-confident is really important in a leadership role. The programme also provides a real opportunity to learn about yourself as a leader, both your strengths and your development areas, because we're all a mix of those things, and how to build and use that knowledge to work with your own team and other senior leaders better through acknowledging that maybe you have a style, a preferred style of leading, but it's also really important to flex and develop that style into other leadership styles and approaches. And so that self-awareness of yourself as a potential leader is really important, you know, for self-insight. It's critical to us all to be the best we can be, but I think as a leader, it's so important to know yourself, warts and all. So that's key, I think. In terms of challenges that people face coming into the programme, there are really many and varied. So moving to a wider faculty or school role, it's often about change of one form or another. So let's face it, you know, as a leader, it's probably difficult to be a leader without, you know, leading some kind of change or other. And leaders change things, you know, so hopefully that's for the better. But I think critically now, there's also the challenges and the ongoing challenges in higher education that are following the pandemic, really, and that we've all experienced in the world more widely, and in our own lives, really. So the changed service delivery models that we're all seeing, the new ways of working, you know, even more so, I think the need for empathetic leadership and high levels of emotionally intelligent leadership is particularly important. And the challenges of this new thing, this hybrid working that we're all hearing so much about, I think is needing both a face-to-face leadership capability and also a virtual team ability. And that's something I think that leaders really need to, you know, sort of negotiate or coordinate across those two roles. So the virtual coordination mode, I think, is that idea of, you know, maybe interacting with your team remotely and online, setting goals, checking the progress, and, you know, making those connections virtually. I think the face-to-face collaboration mode is definitely about bringing people together, fostering innovation, solving the more complex problems, and forming those emotional connections in the team and building, to a large extent, the team culture. So it's enabling that dynamic process. And really, I think the thinking around that is suggesting that there are going to be at least 4 roles that leaders will be required to do. So the conductor, who's the virtual team leadership role that I've just mentioned, the catalyst, you know, spurring that collaboration, that creativity and that innovation, the coach, which is really about helping others achieve their peak performance with a focus on well-being and development. And we very much emphasise a coaching leadership approach within the programme, being a coaching leader and what that means. And that's really around that area of that desire to hear and empower people and to develop others and, you know, do that without judgment, and also giving people your time and your energy. And, you know, I think one of the strongest things a leader can do is create a psychologically safe space. and give people your attention and listen well. So I think that's one of the areas that we really like to emphasise within the Transition to Leadership programme. So participants really seem to value, in terms of what the programme is about and how it helps them with their challenges, looking at their own leadership style, carving out time to think about that, to really reflect on that, and really say to themselves, who am I as a leader and who do I want to be as a leader? And also leading teams and others is another area, particularly so now. You're looking afresh at the team that you and the people around you and empowering them more. And then I think thirdly, it's this area of influencing others and identifying sources of power for yourself. So the sorts of networks that you need to develop and engage with, that's always been there. But I think right now and going forward, there's a particular need, for that type of focus and reflection, so getting yourself out of your comfort zone, thinking about your networks. There's at least 3 of those. One is your operational network, doing the job, who your team need to engage and interact with on a daily basis. The developmental network that you might have around your own needs, how you're developing yourself. And then the strategic network, what's the future about? What should we be doing? Where should we be going as a team? So how the programme works and engages participants and gives confidence to participants. So the Transition to Leadership programme is delivered over a period of 4 to 5 months. So it's a reasonable amount of time that people have to engage with and keep gaining from the programme over that period of time. And it seems to be that most people find that a good amount of time to get to know other people in the programme and to develop some of those relationships. At the core, there are 6 webinars that take place over the duration of the 4 to 5 months. They're 3 hours long in duration, approximately 2 weeks apart. And people say it's just enough time to not forget the previous webinar learning and content, and just enough time to do the homework, with an emphasis on the just enough time to do the homework. So alongside the webinars, there are a number of other activities that we're doing. We're kind of building that cumulative experience, I suppose, really. So there's some diagnostic personal assessments that people do. So they do things like a leadership styles questionnaire. They also take a look at their own leadership development, and we use what we call the leadership wheel to do that, and that forms a basis for setting some objectives and coaching goals, etc. We also use things like the Myers-Briggs type indicator to look at preference and difference between individuals and within teams. There's also a good range of small group activities alongside the whole group webinars, and lots of activity and discussions going on in that context. So we do, for example, an activity called Leadership with Style, where we get groups to sort of break out and look at leadership styles and come back and share some of that experience and think about the sort of leaders that they've encountered along the way in their career and how their style has influenced or impacted upon them. So that's quite a rich exercise. There's also lots of online discussion boards to share learning and experiences. So we one of the activities that we do is interviewing a leader they admire and then sharing that insight as well. So lots of good small group stuff to really encourage dialogue and sharing of experience, because there's always, I think, a place for really getting into good discussion with fellow participants and learning from other people's insights. And I think that can be one of the richest things that people take away from a leadership development programme like this. And we also have obviously the suggested readings and reflections upon that we try to make sure those are of sufficient length and bite size that people can gain from the opportunity to delve into that a bit, but not too we recognise that people have limited amount of time as well. And there's also the peer coaching groups. I'm a huge advocate of coaching as a leadership skill set and development activity. And I think there's a lot of benefit in developing a coaching skill set as a leader. So we try to say to people, there is, this expectation that you will probably have to spend up to about an extra 3 hours a week over and above the webinars to fully engage with their own and other people's learning on the programme, because it's the nature of Transition to Leadership is this shared learning experience. And because it's an online programme, there's lots of interaction asynchronously. So we need people to go off and have that, commit to that activity. So there's, quite an important message there around the amount of time that people need to engage on the programme over and above the face-to-face, the sort of 3-hour webinars that we offer. So important to think about how we put all of this into practice. So we also have what we call the institutional challenge, and that's a personal project which participants are expected to identify in advance of the programme. It could be something they're already working on as part of their current work priorities or their key performance areas. So what that will do is enable them to take the learning on the programme and put it into practice back at the ranch, as it were. So that's quite a key aspect of the programme as well. So it's that combination, I think, of theoretical ideas, new thinking and stimulus, small group discussions and collaboration, peer coaching, and the self-reflection that people do, and in terms of their own reflection, the diagnostics that they undertake, which kind of builds for participants this shared learning space and allows them to consider themselves and their approach to leading, their strengths and their developments, and to really identify their individual goals in a supportive environment is how I think TTL effectively works and engages participants and gives them confidence in where they are and where they're trying to get to. People say things like, I like learning about myself as a leader. I'm more aware of my strengths and development areas having done the programme. It's the building of the group dynamic on the programme, as well as everyone being able to participate. The coaching, training and practice was very useful, the self-reflection opportunity that I had, and also the institutional challenge to be able to put that into practice. So it's all of that, I think, that boosts the self-confidence of participants and really enables them, I think, to really engage with the programme and take what they will away from that. Just to end with, just to say, I personally really enjoy leading the Transition to Leadership programme, and my co-facilitator Stuart Hunt and myself have really had such a rich time in the time that we've spent working on the programme together. We learn so much from the participants who come onto the programme, and there's a real sense that there's a lot of learning out there and experience, and it's so great to tap into some of that. And we get the privilege of doing that with the people who come on the programme. So we really look forward to welcoming you onto the programme and hope to see you on the programme in the foreseeable future. Thank you.